Catfish Weekly, and we got Lyle Stokes and Chuck Davison with us today. Chris has got some personal time today, so he will not be in for the show. Today we're going to work on maintaining your gear, probably a few other topics or whatnot, but we're going to go with Chuck here first to tell you about the giveaway.
We're going to be giving away this Rapala scale. There's going to be 2 of them. All you have to do is post a recent picture of you holding the catfish on our fan page or the Catfish Weekly group, and we will randomly choose somebody to receive 2 of these. We'll be giving 2 away to 2 different people. So just put up some pics and let's see some nice catfish being posted.
Okay, well, today we're kind of using a different format than we normally have before. Like I said, we're going to hit on maintaining gear and then probably go off into some chat or whatnot. But I personally have not sent my reels off for maintenance. I haven't took any of them off for maintenance anything yet. So I used to. I bought reels and they were cheap enough that when they broke, I just bought another one. But they're getting a little expensive, and I don't even know where you take them to get them maintained. Do you, Lyle?
Yeah, there's a couple of places. You can send them to a guy that's on our website, Twisted Cat Outdoors. His name's Abu Doc, and I know he works on all the Abu Garcias and I think some other stuff. There's also a place in St. Louis that does really good work, and I understand there's a guy over in Kansas City area that does some pretty good work too. I know Jason Mathena's told me about the guy in St. Louis that does really excellent work, and he can do some trick stuff to them and make them actually cast better and reel up better, and he cleans them up and does a real good job.
I guess people don't realize, when you're down on the river and even if you're pond or a lake, or it gets sand and grime and all that stuff in. But like I said, I got a bunch of cheap ones and I just use them until they screwed up and I buy another one. But I don't know them pins that I bought from you. I'm probably going to end up having to send them off to get cleaned and changed.
Those are pretty easy to maintain, Paul. They're you just take the side covers off of them. They don't have all the gears and fancy stuff in them that a lot of the others do. But I try to clean them out. I use carburetor spray on mine in the spring, and then lube them up with some like Soul Machine oil or 3-in-1 oil or Vaseline, something like that, on top of the gears.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you, if you could use Vaseline or something like that on them.
Yep. Jason Malone would like to know what kind of reels you're using, Paul.
I'm using Penn 209s. Ain't that what I bought from you, Lyle?
Yes.
209 pins is what I use, and then Akumas. I really like the Akuma bait casters. If I had my choice, I think it would probably be the Akuma, but and I got an Abu Garcia too. I forgot about that. Abu 5000, I think what it is. C. And it gets quiet.
While we're on that subject, Chuck, what kind of reels do you and Leanne use?
Well, our setup, we have 2 ABU 7000 eyes. Then we have 2 ABU Alpha Mar 16s, and we have 2 Penn Phantom 20s. That's pretty much what we use consistently. Then we have some channel cat rods that we just put on some ugly stick catfish poles. They are the 5,600 C4s, Abu Garcias.
I see, and the other thing I've got is the Black Horse custom rods, and Justin got his, and he keeps his waxed like a car. He polishes them, waxes them. Mine, they've you know, they've been out in the sun that it bleached the yellow cord and stuff, which I'm gonna have Lowry do, I think, with rubber or something. But he really takes care of his stuff, and me, you know, I'm kind of like somebody that buys a pickup truck and not use it. I don't believe in that, and I could do a little more maintaining than what I do as far as maintenance, but I guess another thing that I need to work on is reuse or using the braid. Somebody told me something about going backward or putting it on another reel or something like that. Well, I think it was you told me that one, you know.
Yes, yeah. After a year or two, I run it off of one reel, and it'll wind up backwards on a new reel. That way, you get longer life out of your braided line.
Because the braided line ain't cheap.
No, it's pretty pricey, but it's well worth it, especially if you don't want if you want a reel and rod set up with no stretch, which is the ticket when you're bouncing and drift fishing, and that just makes it last longer. But braid lasts a long time anyhow.
Yeah. And you're gonna let us wax your boat, polish it.
Do what?
Well, when you gonna let me and Jay polish that boat?
I want to get it painted.
Well, you need to hurry up and get it painted.
Well, I'm trying to get a hold of the guy. He just, when he had time to do it, I couldn't turn loose of it. Now I got time to. I had 3 to 4 weeks to do it, and he was too busy. So we just got to get together on it.
Call up Mako and see if they'll do it.
What's that? No, I don't think so.
No, you don't like them cheap paint jobs?
What's that?
You don't like them cheap paint jobs?
Well, no. If I'm going to spend the money, I'm going to get it done right.
Now, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, and I got people telling people I act like I know everything and whatnot. And I don't think I've ever acted like that, but I'm still learning stuff, and I guess when you think you know it all is when you run into trouble. But I don't have a big boat to hit the river with or anything like these two guys do. So you want to go into some maintenance on a boat, Lyle and Chuck? Let me work on the boat maintenance.
Well, to start with, one of the things that I do on my boat is that the beginning of every year, I pull the tires and wheels off and pack the wheel bearings, and if you have brakes on your trailer, I check all that over. Sometimes I'll do it twice a year, but usually once a year we'll do that. And I always want to check the lower unit oil in your boat motor a couple times a year. Make sure that you don't have any leaks. Make sure you have spare drain plugs. There's nothing worse than launching your boat, figuring out you forgot to put the drain plug in, and not being able to find it. So it's nice to keep a spare or two with you.
It'd be a good idea to take an extra shear pin, don't you think?
Well, if the old boats had shear pins, yeah. If you have one of the old motors that has shear pins, you ought to keep several of them on hand. The new ones have spin-out type props where they're mounted in rubber, and if you tear that up, you just need to get in and get it fixed or put a different prop on it. But the old ones with the shear pins, when we used to have those, we kept several of them on hand because we was always getting into stuff where we'd shear the shear pin off, and then you was hung out in the middle of the river someplace. Trolling motors, you need to make sure all your trolling motor connections, your batteries are good. The batteries need to be checked every spring to make sure that they're rechargeable, that they're charged up, that they're not weak, because if you have a 24 or 34 36-volt system, and you're running 2 or 3 batteries. If one of them is not as strong as the others, it'll drag the other 2 down. You won't get the performance out of it that you would if you had 3 good batteries or 2 good batteries, whichever the case the system would be. You need to check and make sure all your live well stuff, your switches, are shut off and on when they're supposed to. If you have a timer, that it works correctly, because if you have one timer that's putting water in and one timer that's taking water out, if the one that's taking it out doesn't come on and the one that's putting it in doesn't shut off, next thing you know, you filled your boat up with water. So anything that has working parts needs to be gone over and make sure that it's all good. Anything that gets lubrication needs to make sure it's lubed and checked over at least at the beginning of the year. And it's a good idea if you use it a lot or you travel a lot to do it more than once a year.
I think Chuck.
Lyle pretty much about covered everything on the maintenance. Yeah, and if just try to maintain your boat. You've always heard everything on your boat's already broken. You don't know it yet. So just try to keep up and keep stuff repaired as they break, or you'll find out that you can get behind in a hurry.
I tell you, I was out on the lake, and the trolling motor, the one I got takes a 50 amp fuse, and of course I'm one of those guys that don't read the directions and all that stuff, but I didn't put a 50 amp fuse in it, and I burned up a motor, and had absolutely no paddles. So it was taking our hands and paddling water trying to get back up to the ramp.
Well, another thing is you need to check and make sure every time you fill your tank up. A lot of the old boat motors had gas and oil that you had to mix, and you put a certain amount in to get your 50 to 1 ratio. The new ones, most of them are fuel injected or whatever, but you need to make sure that those pumps and tanks are not leaking. The last thing you want to do is run out of oil or have the wrong mixture and blow your motor up, and then you're done for the year, or you got to buy a new motor.
A little crack in that hose and sucks a little bit of air. It ain't gonna run with snot.
Oh, it'll tear it all up, that's for sure.
But if anybody there in the chat's got any questions, feel free to throw a question in there, and we'll try to get it answered. But I don't know. I keep going between my tackle box and my backpack. I'm not sure which one I like better. I got the backpack now, or everything packed in the backpack now, but I try to keep everything organized, the first aid kit and all that. But I can't really think of anything else. We got any other subject you want to talk about, or?
Yeah, keeping your lead maintained from week to week. If you use leaders, you can have a nick in one. If you don't check it before the tourney, it can make and break you, because I found that out a couple of weeks ago. And
what was that? I didn't catch what you said, Chuck.
Leaders.
Okay.
Yes, check your leaders. Especially if you're tournament fishing. Week to week. If you break some off, lose a fish of a lifetime. You're not losing money like you are in a tournament. But when you're on a tournament, check at least the first 10 feet of your line before your leader. Check your braid. What I always do, I always cut off about once every month. I'll go ahead and cut about 5 foot off my braid. As I'm tying on, breaking off here and there, I'm always cutting off a foot here and there. That's down close to where I tie my leader on. But always check your leaders. One little nick in a mono leader can cause it to snap very, very easy. So that's something. Even during the day or night when you're fishing, every time you're rebaiting, get your fingernail and slide it up and down that leader, see if you feel anything while you're putting that bait on. And that can cause you a lot of heartache.
We fish a lot of tournaments, nearly not every weekend, but nearly every weekend. And a lot of times, what I try to do is go through and put new leaders and hooks on before every tournament. One week we'll be fishing a tournament for channel cat. The next week it'll be for blues. Or, sometimes you'll want smaller hooks in one area than bigger hooks in the next area. And I don't sharpen hooks. I know a lot of guys that do, and it's a great way to save money. But for me, I just put a new hook on, and if it's sharp and good quality hook, I'd rather do that than have to worry about it. Uh, but like I say, new leaders and new hooks on before every weekend comes up, and that way it knocks out any chance of having that. But you're right about the main line. It needs to be checked. Every time that I retie, I take off 2 or 3 feet of it, no matter if it's braid or mono. That way you know for sure that you don't have any nicks and it doesn't stay on there very long. Another thing you need to do if you fish very many different areas is make sure that you have a good selection of sinkers and hooks, because every area is going to be different. One place you'll use an 8, 10, 12, 20 ounce weight on your rods to get them to hold where you need them to hold. The next place you go, we was using 2s and 3s over last weekend, and I don't have very many of them, so I had to restock and get that stuff back up. Jason Malone wants to know, how often do you respool your reels?
If it's on my one rods where I got the mono, I do them every year. But if I've got the braid, I'll use it 1 year and then reel it on backwards, and then run that for a year, and then I discard it. So I usually change them every year.
Well, how do you do yours, Chuck?
Yeah, on the rods I use braid on. After about 6 months, I will rewind them onto another reel backwards and use the braid that I haven't used yet. And on mono, as much as I fish, I try to respool. Probably every 2 or 3 months with the Berkeley big game.
See, I would probably do that if I tournament fish, but when I fish in the lake or on the bank there on the Mississippi, I mean the biggest thing I'm going to catch in a lake that I fish in is maybe a 20-pound channel cat at the max, so I don't need to change my line out as much as maybe you and Lyle do.
Also, we have a question on there about what size mono leader do you use, what length and what size. I don't know what you guys are using. I'm using 60 and 65-pound mono, and the length varies due to the amount of what kind of current I'm in, whether it's a lake or what size hooks I'm using. I'll use anywhere from 8 or 10 or 12 inch ones to 24, and at times as much as 36.
I use mostly 80 and 100-pound mono leaders. Same way as Lyle. It depends on the type of current and the presentation. So if I use cut bait or live bait, if I'm using live bait, I'll use up to 36 inches a leader sometimes. Sometimes I won't even, go over 12.
Use any 3-ways?
Yes, if I'm using 3-ways and I'm drifting, I'll use like, 12-pound mono, which I'll double it up for my sinker leader. And I'll bring it up about 18 inches, and then I'll come up to a 3-way, and then I'll run off of it, with 80 or 100-pound. Then I'll come up another 12 inches, and I'll put like a 12-inch leader with 80 or 100-pound. That way, if my weight gets in the structure, I can snap that 24 pounds worth of mono off of that lead, and I won't lose as much. I won't lose the hooks, and all I got to do is when you double up that mono, what I do, I'll just loop it through the bank sinker, and that way it's wrapped around the bait sinker twice, and then I just do a couple of overhand knots, up on my swivel, because it's not going to hurt, if you pull it really hard, and that knot comes off, because a lot of times you don't want to um, pull your boat around, anything like that. So I'd rather um, that sinker leader to break or come loose pretty easy if I need it to.
Have you noticed, Chuck, that when you're tying on heavier leaders with braided line, that if you if say you get snagged up, instead of worrying about breaking it off with your rod, what I do is I wrap a couple of wraps around the body of the reel, and then pull straight back with the rod, and it'll snap those 60 and 80 pound leaders pretty easily that way.
Yeah, what I try to do, if you pull slow and steady, usually your mono, if you're using 80-pound braid and 80-pound mono on the leader, usually if you pull slow and steady, your mono ends up breaking. But if you do that quick snap, usually your braid will go ahead and break. So it just depends on if I'm going to pull myself off anchor or what type of situation I'm on. But a lot of times I go ahead and I try to pull it real slow, and get that mono to stretch and break before that braid does, so I can save my sinkers if I have a no row or something like that on.
Hey, Lyle, did you smell that?
Smell that?
I just farted.
No.
You didn't smell that? Hey, I want to do this early while we're at it. The next show, looks like on the on the 2nd, be the next show. Lyle and Chuck and Chris, we talked about it. We're going to try to gracefully talk about pay lakes and noodling, and our thoughts and why we don't believe in it and whatnot. So you might want to pay attention to that show, and that could get interesting in the chat room. What else we got? Anything else? These guys hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, I can't really think of anything else either. What do you recommend on your rods, Lyle, to make them last longer?
well, keeping them clean and keeping the shad scales off of them. If you want the finish to stay nice, you can take some dishwashing soap and warm water and wash them all up. The filler that's in all cork handles will come out of them. There's not much you can do about that. The people that want to use cork, that's something that they deal with. The cord wraps, a nylon brush and soapy water, and then rinse them off. In the same way with EVA foam, you can do that and let them dry, and they do really well. Once you get the rods cleaned up, and it doesn't matter if it's one of my rods or if it's a production rod, if you'll take those and wash them up, and then put a little car wax on them and shine them up once a year, it'll sure make the finish last a lot longer on them. And just run your hands over them and make sure that you don't have any nicks or bumps, especially on graphite, because graphite, if there's a scratch or a nick on it, when it breaks, it'll break in that spot. You keep that down to a minimum. If you get a little place like that, you can put some epoxy or something over top of it for prolong the life of the rod before it, moisture and stuff gets in there and it'll cause it to break. But there's not as long as you make sure that you don't have any guide wraps come loose, because once they start coming loose, there's no stopping them. They'll all come loose. If there's enough finish put on them, that usually doesn't happen, but sometimes you run into that. The decal things, you just got to keep them clean and shiny if you want to be able to read them, and go with that. But there's not a whole lot of maintenance done to them. Just keep them clean, and like I say, a little shot of car wax once a year will make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get ready to ask you if you use polish or.
I've got a question here from Adam Winder wants to know what kind of hooks do we all use. I'll start with saying that I use a Charlie Brown 9/0 for drift fishing when I'm bumping, 10/0 if I can get them, a double action style hook for normal fishing, dead sticks, and anchor fishing. I like an 8 or a 10/0 2022 Eagle Claw circle hook. I found nothing that I get along with any better than that, and confidence in what you use is a big percentage of success. So that's what I'm using, and you guys can weigh in on that.
Well, I usually use the 6/0 bottom dweller circle hooks until I couldn't get them anymore, so I had to find another source. I get them out of China now. 50 of them cost me about $12 with shipping. So I've been getting the 6/0 from them and the 10/0. I use the 10/0 on the river and the 6/0 on the lake, and it seemed to work out pretty good for me. Even little bullheads can get hooked on them 6/0, but they can't get it swallowed, so I don't lose a lot of hooks.
I use Eagle Claw L2022 in size 10/0. I use that about
Just
number 8. 8/0.
Froze up there just for a second on me.
Where'd you lose me at? Okay, I use a Eagle Claw 10/0 L2022 circle hook. Probably 90-95% of the time. Any other time I'll use a number 8 Team Catfish double action.
And I was asked the other day, and I figure I'll just bring it up here now that I think about it. The reason that I wear a jersey, and I don't tournament fish, but I wear this jersey like the bottom dwellers and the Black Horse Custom Rod and Twisted Cat Outdoors and stuff like that, is because these guys back me in doing the things that I do, the charity work with the kids and the seniors and the disabled and whatnot. And to me, the people I represent want to be seen and help me to help others. It's more of an advertise that they support me instead of me being a tournament fisher, fisherman. So that's kind of why I wear the jersey, and I wear it just about everywhere I go. I got a couple of them. The third one ended up with hot lead all over it, and it melted on me. But that's the reason that I wear the jersey, is not because I'm.
And what you do is very important to the sport. You do a lot of stuff for youth and kids and disabled people and people that are in nursing homes and things. And it's outstanding that you do that and represent these companies the way you do, and we're all very proud of the fact that you do that. Fishing is not always necessarily about tournament fishing, although it does get the majority of the looks and action, because there's so many people that look to these guys for information and knowledge and things. But the things that you do are behind the scene, and there's not everybody has the time or the ability, and not everybody wants to do it. So thank you for what you do.
So and if anybody wants to get involved or something, they can always get a hold of me at Paul at catfishweekly.com. The group I represent is Team Fat Boyz, and that's been around for about 3 years. We're incorporated as a non-for-profit in Illinois. So people that want to help and stuff like that will always accept the help.
I've got another question here about what do you do if you have cork peeling and what can you do to fix it? Adam, if you're talking about the cork peeling off of a rear or a front grip, the easiest way to do that is to squeeze it and get a spot in there where there's a little hole behind it and pour some fast set epoxy in there and let it run down in there and let it set up over top of that, and that'll fix it again. And if it doesn't stay at that time, then you need to probably replace it. And you can either replace it with cork or cord or what they call cork tape, which is all an easy fix and something to be done. The other question I have is, do you ever have reel seats so big your reels don't fit them? And how do you combat that? I've run into that a few times, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can take the reel foot that's on the bottom of the reel that attaches to the reel seat, and sometimes you can bend the feet down, which will take up the slack in a reel seat. And the other way you can do it is to get some metal, I would recommend brass strips, and shim up from the bottom, and that'll take care of that problem also.
Yep, I want to remind anybody that's watching, I was talking to Kurt Morrow from Stinkfinger the other day, but if anybody wants to advertise on the website, we got a real good deal going. 6 months for $50 and 3 months for, what was it, 20? That's what it was, wasn't it? Well,
I believe it was
$10 cheaper.
$30 for 3 months and $50 for 6, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
We're getting a lot of traffic on Team Fat Boyz, so I think we got three or four spots still open yet. First come, first serve. It doesn't matter who you are, and we're pretty well non-biased. As Chris says, we've got our own individual sponsors, but as a show and as a whole, we don't have a lot of that going on. So I can't really think of anything else, guys. If nobody's got any questions, we can shut it down, or unless somebody can think of something else to yak about.
We have several people that's just now coming online. If we got anything, I don't. The only thing I can talk about is we had a really nice turnout at the Nauvoo tournament over the weekend, Saturday. It was a regular Twisted Cat outdoor tournament, but we was lucky enough that Calvin Myers showed up and to weigh in. Him and his wife and his mother and his brother and a whole bunch of other people did, and it was really good to see Calvin getting along so well. The tournament was pretty good itself, but having him there was absolutely the highlight of the day for me, and I think most everybody else. He's such a good guy, and he's working real hard to combat this issue he has with this cancer, so we're all happy to see him.
Is he going to be at the benefit tournament that you've got going on, or?
Yes, he is. He was actually. They had a benefit auction for him with a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, and he was at that. I know that he got tired and had to probably leave a little bit early, but that was a big weekend for him. But next weekend we'll be having the tournament in Burlington for Calvin Myers' benefit, and he will be there also. And you guys get a chance, come to Burlington and jump in that tournament with us. It's gonna pay 50% of the money we take in to Calvin, and 50% will be for prize money. And I know most of us are not interested in the prize money as much as we are trying to help this young man out with this battle he's got on his hands. And I've said this for several weeks. Calvin is an ambassador to our sport. He worked for years trying to promote catfishing and does everything the right way. He's a good family man, and and he's just having a run of tough times here, and we need to help him out any way we can.
Got anything else, Chuck?
We're gonna do closing statements or what?
Yeah. If nobody's got any questions, we'll wait here a second and see if anybody's got anything. If they want to ask it now. Forever hold your peace.
I was gonna ask y'all something. See if y'all have ever heard of this. I do it. I don't know if I'm just anal about the way I do things, but any time that I get new fishing sinkers, I'll put them outside in a coffee can, and I'll just let them weather with rainwater. I've always been told that the chemicals and stuff that come out of lead do have a lot of scent and stuff to them that fish would probably be able to pick up on. Has anybody ever heard of anybody else doing that, or am I just anal and superstitious, or what?
I've never heard of it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
You said anal.
Yeah, it's just being around the old timers and everything. And, I just thought they just leave their lead outside for whatever reason in a bucket or whatever. But
well, they said that about hooks and stuff too. That you had to put your bait on the whole dang hook, because if you left any showing that fish wouldn't bite. And then later on in life, I found out that was a crock of crap.
Well, they're saying that after you pour your lead, you get the smell of it when you're pouring it, and you can smell all the chemicals that's in it and everything. But even after you pour them and let them set up, a lot of that stuff's on the outside surface and all. And the old timers have just told me for years that especially for catfishing, where they use their scent for feeding and everything mostly, that you need to let them things sit and just sit outside and weather and rainwater and stuff, and it helps get rid of a lot of that stuff.
Right. That's just like the hook thing. It's a confidence factor. If you think it'll work, it probably will.
Yeah, I just didn't know if anybody else did it. It's
I don't know. Growing up, I'd still be spitting on worms had I not known better later on in life.
We got any questions pop up yet?
I don't know that that'd be a big difference.
The thing that they've been talking about on the Catfish Weekly chat, I don't think we're going to be spreading around on the show.
And that chat's open 24/7. Anybody wants to get in there and
absolutely. So you can leave questions.
I monitor it sometimes or whatnot, but
I get on it and check it, and you guys can ask questions on the chat line, and we'll check it and answer them if we can. And if you want to leave a comment for the show, we'd really like to have that. All input is welcome, good or bad. We hope it's not too much bad, but yeah, we try to make the show better, and the only way we can get to make it better is if people leave comments, so we know if we're going the right direction or not.
Yeah, the other thing I'd like to see is people go to the YouTube page and like and comment and subscribe.
Yeah, I've noticed that. We get some likes every week, but if you like the show and you watch it on YouTube, please click the like button. Do so also on the Facebook page. And when you're on YouTube watching these things, because they're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and all you have to do is leave a little comment there, so we know that you either like it or don't like it, or we need to change something, or if we're doing a good job, please let us know.
Yes, and if you have any ideas, if you want to see us bring somebody on as a special guest, or any kind of ideas on the show that you would like to see, please get on there, and we're open to any comments on stuff like that. So give us your ideas on what y'all want. This is y'all's show. We're here for y'all. So
y'all. So remember, guys, next week, pay lakes and noodling. That's going to be the topic.
Let's do our closing statements here.
Well, that's what I'm getting ready to do.
There's a lot of noodling going on down here right now. That's probably the peak of the spawn, and all these kids have been watching these TV shows that's never had parents or relatives do it in their entire life, and they're out here in this river and this lake, and you go down with a boat and you see kids at all these boat launches. They're out by these houses and stuff. You don't see them out, on a dirt bank, like on TV. They're around these boat ramps and stuff, and they learn this stuff on TV. They didn't. A lot of these guys didn't grow up doing this.
That's a topic for next week.
So we will go ahead, Lyle.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that, again, May 31st in Burlington, Iowa, the Calvin Meyer Benefit Tournament. We have a lot of stuff being sent in, and we're going to have auctions and raffles and things for the prizes, and it's for probably one of the best reasons that you could ever go to a tournament. And if you guys get a chance, please show up there, and you'll have a good time. There's going to be a good meal to go with it. We're going to have a fish fry after the tournament at the firehouse, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. June 14th, LaGrange, Missouri, the Jack and Jill tournament. This tournament is sponsored by Mark Twain Casino. $3,000 first place prize money. We're going to have a great time there. Hopefully we're not right in the middle of the spawn. It hadn't really started up here yet, so we're hoping that we'll get by that. And we've got people coming from several states and entries coming in just about daily. And if you get a chance, come on up and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Keokuk, Iowa, July 12th, added money tournament. Last year we had, I can't remember, it was either 45 or 47 boats. Quite a big turnout for us. It's going to be a really good, fun time up there at Keokuk, and we'll be fishing, a lot of fishing below the dam and on down, and you can absolutely catch some good blues up there. So come on up and join us, and as things get closer on the other, we'll announce some of them other tournaments as time gets a little closer on them.
Yep.
Okay. Alabama Catfish Trail. We'll have our next tournament July 12th at Birchfield Branch Campground Ramp. This will be a night tournament from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. This is a campground, so you can bring your tent, set up your tent before the tournament, go out fish 2 a.m. We'll come back and have a nice weigh-in, and then you'll have your tent there. Just get a good night's sleep, and hopefully we can get up and do a little bit of fishing the next day. This is the home of the 120-pound Alabama state record. So a bunch of experienced catfish guys, we should be able to go down there and see what they really got in that lake. And they'll be coming right off of spawn around then, so they're going to be feeding heavy. We've been getting a lot of buzz about the tournament after that. It's going to be September 6th on Wheeler Lake. We're going to be launching out of one of the nicest harbors, Ingalls Harbor. It's very nice. So hopefully we'll have people come in from some other states and stuff for this. We've been getting a lot of messages on our fan page and all. So hopefully it'll be a good one. All right, Paul, that's it.
Well, guys, remember, we've still got space for advertising left on the website. As Chris always says, we're not biased to anyone, even though we have our own personal sponsors and whatnot. The site's totally different. We are, I don't know how I would say that, but anyway, you get the point. And
Hey, Paul?
Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to the winners of the tournament Saturday, Jason Rath and forgot his name. Boy, that really bothers me.
You'll come up with it after we close the show.
No, I'm gonna get it right now.
You know that's gonna happen. Don't forget to go to Twisted.
Kill me. Josh Hayes and Jason Rath put 3 channel cats together at the tournament for 27.4 pounds in Nauvoo, Illinois. The tournament paid them $1,300, and they've received $100 from Dave Marine for being in the highest placing Sea Art boat. 27.4 pounds in the water that we fish for channel cat in around here is really good. And the other good thing that I wanted to tell you about was Jim Gillen Water and his partners put a 22.4 pound big fish in the boat. No, 12.2 pound big fish in the boat. Paid them $210. That's just for the water we fish. That's just really good stuff. And that's
it.
That's it for me.
Go check out Twisted Cat Outdoors, twistedcatoutdoors.com. It's a forum, a lot of nice guys there. Yeah, the contest. Upload your current picture of you and your fish on the fan page or the group for Catfish Weekly. Just put it up there in the search, and then upload a picture, and you'll be entered into the drawing for the 50-pound scale. What brand was that?
Rapala scale.
Rapala, yeah. So 50.
Can I get in there?
I'm gonna be posting when I get off of here.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, we'll catch you all later next week, and probably have Fudd back in here. So as he says, stay out of my hole.